So I was previously, just over the summer, in a production of Once Upon a Mattress here at TheatreWorks. And I had never done a show before at TheatreWorks. I had seen auditions come up multiple times, and I was like, Shandi, you're not good enough. And then I just wouldn't show up. And they finally did Once Upon a Mattress, and I got brave, and I came and auditioned and did the show and fell in love with this theater. It is the best space I've ever worked in. It's the best atmosphere, the best energy. Like, everyone in the cast was wonderful. You'd walk off stage and some random person would be like, you did really great. And so it was just that family atmosphere that you don't always get. And so it's easy to get hooked. So Elizabeth is Victor's intended. They grew up together. They've known each other basically their whole lives. And, you know, one day this spark kind of ignited between the two of them, and they are definitely in love with each other. And to Elizabeth, like, Victor and his family, the entire house of Frankenstein is everything to her. I like to think of her as like the glue that ties the family together. She kind of grounds them in reality and kind of holds everything together even when things get, spoilers, crazy. So she's an absolute blast to step into the shoes of, because I think the inclination when you're playing like a period piece, especially as a woman, is we're kind of painted throughout history as damsels. Like, you think of old school monster movies and the woman is just kind of like, oh no, just they're helpless. And Elizabeth has a lot of moments where she is not that at all. She is probably, in my opinion, one of the strongest women that I've ever played, which you would not expect whatsoever, because the romantic lead is usually just like a pretty person. But she's 100% fleshed out and real and just unbelievably strong. And so, you know, I read the script and I was just immediately enticed to that, and I connected with that. She's not what you would expect, and so that is wonderful to get to play. And I think that it'll be surprising for the audiences to see a woman of that time period not being a typical woman of the time period. So it's definitely fun to be unconventional and to kind of flip the patriarchy on its head and do something completely different and real. Chris is an amazing director, and what really, really drew me to Frankenstein in particular was knowing Chris and knowing that this is such a passion project for him. Like, this is like his baby. You just see him light up when he talks about the littlest things, like a dial that might be on Victor's equipment is like the brightest, best thing that's ever happened to him. And so you can't help but find that energy incredibly infectious. And so knowing that this was a passion project for him and knowing that he was going to put everything into it, I couldn't resist the opportunity to be a part of it and just put everything into it to match that intensity and that energy. My favorite moment in the show, this is gonna sound, I don't want to give anything away, but it's probably the most, in my opinion, intense moments of the show. There's a lot of people crying on stage, and there's a lot of heightened energy, and it's intense, and it's just, as an actor, it's very almost fun in a weird way to get to play, and it's very vulnerable and raw, which is something that I think Frankenstein can be campy, but this, you know, this production isn't. But I think monster movies in general, like old school 50s movies, of course, they can seem kind of cheesy nowadays, but this moment is just like, oh my gosh, this is real, and this is intense, and I think the audience will be sitting on the edge of their seats. Chris told us that our goal was to get someone to like stand up in the audience and cry injustice. So be that person, please.